Okay, you just said that you were not in favor of tax increases for the residents of Mesquite. So that's going to segue right into this next issue that is becoming concerning to a lot of people I talk to who are not politicians. They just happen to live here.
That's where I am coming from, up until March anyway.
Yeah. You know, the city has worked out contracts with all three of their unions, so that the contracts used to be staggered. One would expire this year, one would expire next year, and the third one the next year. And now they're all in sync, and they all expire at the same time. But over the last 10 years especially, the unions have taken a stance and won that whatever one union gets percentage-wise, the others get. Well, now, at least other than the COVID suspension of this year's increase, now they're set to get, all of the employees are set to get 5% pay raises every year for at least the next 3 years, according to contract. Okay? I understand this year's was suspended, so, you know, that's an anomaly. On top of that, the PERS is going up. It's now close to 30% for the regular employees, and I think 46% for public safety employees. Mesquite has one of the lowest tax rates in the state. But we're running out of money.
Okay, sure. I see you're going with it, but you can definitely continue.
We're running out of money for services, equipment, supplies, things like that. Because now the just supporting employees is taking close to 80% of our budget. So if we continue on that track, you're going to have some choices to make. You're either going to have to, as some people say, stand up to the unions, or you're going to have to cut services, or you're going to have to raise taxes. Those are your three options.
Yeah, and I think the fourth option is probably what they were thinking about when they agreed to these increases, and that was an economy that had an increasing tax base. That's where the key is, and that's what they were thinking when these contracts were negotiated, and that's the track that we need to stay onto. I mean, I don't think those are your three options. I think there's a fourth option is all.
And that is?
And that is, like I said, increasing your tax base. That's your fourth option. So increasing taxes is your worst option. Increasing your taxes is the last thing that I would want to do. So you need to have Mesquite continue on the path of helping get more development here, helping get more businesses here, being a lot more proactive and filling up the tech center and commerce center between exits 118 and 120.
And how would you do that?
You have to incentivize it. You have to incentivize it with land, with tax breaks. Every option is always on the table for that, because this is what you need to develop your. There's not one magic bullet for nearly any of the issues facing Mesquite. There's always several options on the table that you have to. Sometimes you're going to be doing a little bit of everything to do it.
But you would not be in favor of holding back on pay increases?
Holding back? Well, it depends on the economy. If the economy can't support it, how do you pay for it?
We've had that twice now.
Yeah, and I think that when I talk with folks at the city, they understand that. Don't tell them that during a negotiation, but they understand when The economy hits, when things hit the fan, they're the first ones that have to take the brunt, and they know that. It's an uncomfortable situation for them and their families, but it's something that they know. It is what it is in that case. But increasing the taxes is not going to help you increase your tax base. It's going to stifle growth, not help your growth.
So let's segue that into economic development, since you brought it up. Thanks.
Sure.
The city just canceled the MRED contract, Mesquite Regional Economic Development Contract, gave them notice.
Exactly. All it does give them notice.
Which they're bound to, because they now have sent out an RFQ for economic development services. So just talk about
all
that.
they're doing is that's just a formality to send the RFQ out to see if they can get the services cheaper. That was what was discussed last night in that meeting, or 2 nights ago in that meeting, and so it was, and that's why it was unanimous. It was a quick 2-minute discussion. There's not a lot to that, I don't think, as far as they're not necessarily canceling MRED. MRED just has to make sure that they can do it for the same price as somebody else.
What are you looking for in an economic development services contract?
Well, I think if you have it local, it's a big plus, because they know the area, they know the movers and shakers as it is, but you also want experience. Like, what they have to show, what have you actually brought to the table? I'd have to look at all the proposals that come in to see what is the best balance of having local people that know Mesquite, or local people that know Nevada, and people that have the contacts and the experience to do that job.
Are you in favor of pulling it back in-house?
No.
Why?
Because we talked about this, I think it's probably off the camera, but when something gets into City Hall, it's not all that private. And a lot of companies, when they're coming in somewhere, they want to have some privacy.
That's an understatement.
You know what, and you want transparency in things in the city, but when you're a developer or a business, or if you're Amazon or Walmart bringing in a distribution center somewhere, you don't want the whole world knowing that you're thinking about bringing one or relocating one somewhere else. So it's a great idea to have it out of the halls of City Hall, in my opinion. It has, those are I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. When you hire staff to do the same thing, you're paying them PERS and everything else anyway. And I don't think you're saving that much money by having it in-house, because they're not paying a whole lot for this.
Okay.